The underestimated species. The Galactic Defense Initiative's headquarters loomed over the artificial moon of Nexus Prime like a twisted metal orchid, its petals stretching toward the stars it claimed to protect. Inside the central chamber, Grand Admiral Zix Val clicked his mandibles together in irritation as he studied the holographic display of the newest applicant species. Humans, he said, the translator rendering his vibrating speech patterns into standard galactic. From Sol 3, a Class 12 Deathworld. Primitive technological development, internal political fragmentation, and yet they insist on participation in our defensive coalition. High Counselor Ishara, a luminescent being from the gas giant Thetis, pulsed with subtle patterns of light that indicated amusement. They've barely achieved stable fusion. Their ships still use chemical propellants for atmospheric exit. What could they possibly offer the initiative? Persistence, responded Ambassador Kral, the Ardenian representative. They contacted 73 of our outposts before someone finally responded. Their determination is unusual. The assembled aliens, representatives of the 27 most advanced civilizations in the known galaxy, exchanged expressions of mild contempt. The initiative had been formed to protect against the incursions of the Void Horde, a mysterious force that emerged from the galactic rim every 3 centuries. Member species contributed according to their abilities. The Thetians provided energy manipulation, the Ardenians tactical brilliance, the Makari biomechanical innovations. But humans? What could a species barely 5,000 years into their technological evolution offer? The treaty is clear, Admiral Zix Val continued. Any sentient species may apply for membership and must be granted a fair assessment. We cannot deny them the trials without violating our own laws. Then let them fail. Counselor Ishara's lights flickered dismissively. Send their representative to the celestial arena. The combat trials will demonstrate their inadequacy, and we can dismiss their application with clear conscience. Agreed, replied the Admiral. Select their most capable warrior and bring them to Nexus Prime. Standard diplomatic procedure, but expedited evaluation. I predict this matter will be resolved within a single rotation. Little did they know that on Earth, Sergeant Maya Chen was already preparing for her journey to the stars, unaware that she would become humanity's first and perhaps last chance at galactic recognition. Maya had never imagined space travel would be so uncomfortable. The Ardenian diplomatic vessel was designed for beings with 4 arms and exoskeletons, not for the soft, flexible human form. Her quarters were too hot, the gravity too light, and the food, if you could call it that, tasted like a combination of seaweed and battery acid. Approaching Nexus Prime, Human Chen, announced the ship's AI in slightly accented English. Please prepare for docking procedures. Maya checked her gear one final time. She had been permitted to bring minimal equipment. A standard-issue combat suit, modified to interface with alien tech, her tactical knife, carefully vetted to ensure it contained no prohibited technology, and a small medical kit, mostly useless, as human physiology remained a mystery to the galactic community. At 32, Maya was neither the strongest nor the fastest soldier Earth had to offer. What she did possess, however, was adaptability, the trait that Earth's unified government had decided would be most valuable in this unprecedented situation. A former Special Forces operative with experience in 15 different combat styles and 12 survival scenarios, Maya had been chosen not for her ability to overpower opponents, but for her capacity to understand, learn, and improvise. Human Chen, your escort awaits, the AI announced as the ship's internal doors parted with a soft hiss. Standing before her was a Makari, a being that resembled an elegant fusion of insect and machine. Its exoskeleton gleamed with embedded circuitry, and multiple compound eyes studied her with undisguised curiosity. I am Cell Tai, it introduced itself, manipulator appendages moving in what might have been a formal greeting. Combat overseer for the initiative trials. You are smaller than expected. Maya had been briefed on alien etiquette and knew that many species valued directness. Size isn't everything in combat, she responded evenly. I hope the trials will allow me to demonstrate what humans can contribute. Indeed, Zelti's voice carried no inflection that Maya could detect. You will have your opportunity shortly. The Council has expedited your evaluation. The first trial begins in 6 standard hours. 6 hours. Maya couldn't hide her surprise. The briefing indicated a 3-day acclimation period. The Council determined that your species application is urgent. The Makari's compound eyes reflected Maya's image back at her. Time is a resource the initiative cannot spare on uncertain candidates. Translation. They were rushing her through to get the rejection over with quickly. Maya forced a smile. Then I'll be ready in 6 hours. The Celestial Arena was aptly named. A massive circular platform suspended in the void between Nexus Prime and its parent gas giant. Transparent force fields contained a breathable atmosphere while allowing spectators an unobstructed view of the combat zone. Maya stood at the entrance, watching as various alien dignitaries filed into the observation decks. Welcome, representatives and honored guests, announced a disembodied voice. Today we witnessed the evaluation trials for Earth, a Category 3 developing world seeking initiative membership. Maya noticed the subtle buzz among the spectators. Category 3 was generous. Earth was technically a Category 5 at best, barely above pre-spaceflight civilizations. Someone was setting expectations deliberately low. Zelte approached, carrying what appeared to be a data tablet. Human Chen, your first trial is the combat adaptation test. You will face a series of automated opponents programmed with various combat styles from across the galaxy. The objective is survival and tactical assessment, not necessarily victory. Maya nodded, hiding her concern. The briefing materials had described the first trial as a basic physical assessment. This sounded considerably more dangerous. Any restrictions on techniques or equipment use? She asked. None. Use whatever means you possess. The Makari paused. For safety purposes, I must inform you that 22% of first-time applicants suffer permanent injury during this trial. 6% suffer fatalities. Maya's eyes widened. Fatalities. This is supposed to be an evaluation. The initiative defends against the Void Horde, Human Chen. There are no practice encounters in that conflict. The trials reflect this reality. Zelti's manipulators gestured toward a weapons rack. You may select one supplementary item if you wish. The rack held devices Maya couldn't begin to identify. Objects that pulsed with energy or shifted form as she watched. She approached cautiously, studying each one, before selecting what appeared to be a simple metal rod about the length of her forearm. An interesting choice, Zelti commented. The Ardenian pivot staff. Primitive, but versatile. Maya tested the weight of the rod. When she flicked her wrist, it extended to nearly 2 meters in length. I like options, she said simply. Very well. Enter the arena when the signal sounds. Your first opponent awaits. The signal, a pulsing blue light accompanied by a low tone, came moments later. Maya stepped onto the platform, immediately assessing her surroundings. The combat surface was smooth but not slippery, with subtle variations in texture that could provide traction. Overhead, holographic displays showed her vital signs alongside what she assumed were betting odds. Charming. At the far end of the arena, a portal opened in the floor. Rising from it was a machine unlike any Maya had seen before, a whirling collection of blades and appendages attached to a central core that hovered a meter above the ground. No apparent weaknesses, no obvious weapon systems beyond the blades themselves, and no indication of its combat programming. Trial commencing, announced the disembodied voice. Preparation interval, 3 seconds. Maya barely had time to set her stance before the machine launched forward, blades spinning at speeds that made them nearly invisible. She rolled sideways, feeling the wind of their passage as they missed her by centimeters. The machine pivoted instantly, adapting to her movement with frightening precision. In the observation deck, Admiral Zix Val leaned forward. Interesting. The human's reaction time exceeds our projections. A simple evasion. Dismissed Counselor Ishara. The slaughter sphere is operating at minimum capacity. It has not yet begun to utilize its thermal tracking or sound disruption techniques. As if on cue, the machine emitted a high-pitched wail that made Maya's ears ring painfully. She staggered, momentarily disoriented. Exactly what the machine had intended. It surged forward, blades reconfiguring to form a cage-like structure designed to trap rather than slice. Maya did the unexpected. Instead of retreating, she lunged toward the machine, using the staff to vault directly over its central core. As she passed overhead, she noted a small circular indentation at the top of the core, a potential weakness, or perhaps a sensor array. She landed behind the machine, immediately spinning to face it. The slaughter sphere seemed momentarily confused by her maneuver, rotating slowly as it recalibrated. In the stands, Kiptrol chittered softly. The human identified the sensory blind spot. That's unusual for a first encounter. The machine recovered quickly, its blades shifting again to become thick, club-like appendages. It charged, utilizing brute force rather than precision. Maya stood her ground until the last possible moment before sidestepping and extending her staff. The tip found the indentation she'd spotted earlier, applying pressure to what she hoped was a vital component. The slaughter sphere emitted a grinding noise and wobbled in its flight path. Encouraged, Maya pressed her advantage, repeatedly striking the same spot with increasing force. On her fourth blow, something cracked, and the machine's hovering became erratic. "Impossible," murmured one of the alien officials. She identified a structural weakness within minutes. The machine made one final desperate attack, all its appendages extending at once in a 360-degree strike pattern. Maya dropped flat to the floor, letting the blades pass over her, then thrust her staff upward into the damaged section with all her strength. The slaughter sphere shuddered, emitted a shower of sparks, and crashed to the arena floor, its systems failing catastrophically. Silence fell over the observation deck. "Match concluded," announced the system eventually. "Opponent neutralized. Assessment. Subject demonstrates exceptional analytical capability and tactical adaptation." Maya rose slowly, breathing hard but otherwise uninjured. She looked toward the observation deck, making direct eye contact with Admiral Zixfall. "Next opponent," she called out, her voice echoing in the stunned silence. Zeltai approached from the arena entrance. Most impressive, human Chen. Few species managed to defeat the slaughter sphere on first encounter. It had predictable attack patterns once I understood its sensory limitations, Maya replied, deliberately understating her achievement. The last thing she needed was for these aliens to see her as a threat rather than a potential ally. "The next trial will commence after a brief recovery period," Zeltai informed her. "You may return to the preparation chamber." As Maya exited the arena, whispers and discussions erupted among the alien observers. Her performance had not gone unnoticed, nor had the implications of what a human might be capable of with proper training and equipment. In the central control room, Admiral Zixfall turned to his fellow council members. "It appears we may have underestimated the Deathworlders," he said quietly. "Recalibrate the next trial. I want to see what this human does when truly challenged." High Counselor Ishara's luminescence darkened ominously. "Be careful, Admiral. If humans are more capable than we assumed, we must consider the security implications before proceeding further." "Indeed," the Admiral replied. "Perhaps it's time to implement the breaking point protocol. If this human truly represents Earth's capabilities, we need to know exactly what we're dealing with before we decide whether to welcome them or contain them." Maya, unaware of the political machinations her success had triggered, sat in the preparation chamber checking her equipment. The first trial had been difficult but not impossible, which made her deeply suspicious. If the aliens were as advanced as they claimed, why would they begin with a challenge she could overcome? The answer came to her as she noticed a small drone observing her from the corner of the room. They weren't testing her combat capabilities at all. They were studying her, learning how humans think, react, and fight. The real trial was yet to come. The breaking point. The second trial was delayed without explanation. Maya sat in the preparation chamber for 3 hours before Celta finally returned, accompanied by 2 towering reptilian beings whose elaborate armor marked them as security personnel. "Is everything all right?" Maya asked, noting the tension in the Macari's movements. A modification to the trial parameters required approval. Celta explained. The Council has determined that a more comprehensive evaluation is necessary. Meaning they were surprised I survived the first round. The Macari's compound eyes flickered. What passed for amusement, perhaps. "Your directness is refreshing, Human Chen. Yes, your performance has prompted reconsideration of human capabilities. The next trial will be significantly more challenging." "I expected nothing less," Maya replied, rising to her feet. "What am I facing?" "The breaking point protocol. It is rarely implemented for first contact species." Celti's manipulator appendages twitched in what might have been concern. "I am required to inform you that you may withdraw your application without prejudice." A diplomatic way of saying she should quit while she was ahead. Maya smiled thinly. "Earth didn't send me here to retreat at the first sign of difficulty. I'll take the trial." As they walked toward the arena, Maya noticed a significant increase in spectators. Word had clearly spread about the humans' unexpected success. Among the observers were representatives from species she hadn't seen before, smaller, less ornately dressed beings watching from the furthest sections of the viewing area. "Who are they?" she asked, nodding toward these new observers. "Category 2 and Category 3 species," Celtai replied. "Associate members of the initiative, permitted to observe but not vote on council matters." Maya understood immediately. These were the underdogs, the less advanced civilizations relegated to second-class status within the galactic community. They were watching her with particular interest because Earth might soon join their ranks, or perhaps change what those ranks meant. The arena had been reconfigured. The smooth surface was now broken by various obstacles. Pillars, trenches, raised platforms. Environmental hazards were evident as well, patches of ground that glowed with heat or crackled with electrical discharge. "The breaking point is not a single opponent," Celtai explained. "It is a survival scenario. You will face multiple challenges simultaneously while the environment itself becomes increasingly hostile. The trial ends when you are incapacitated or signal surrender. And if I complete the objectives." That has not occurred in recent memory. The Macari hesitated. "The trial is designed to identify your species' breaking point, the threshold at which your capabilities are exceeded. In other words, they expected her to fail. The only question was how long she would last." Maya checked her equipment one final time, tested the Ardenian staff she had been allowed to keep, and nodded. "I'm ready." As she stepped into the arena, the atmosphere changed subtly. The air became heavier. The gravity increased by perhaps 15%, a deliberate adjustment to disadvantage her Earth-evolved physiology. Maya compensated, shifting her stance to maintain balance. "Breaking point protocol initiated," announced the system. Stage 1 commencing. 4 portals opened simultaneously around the arena. From each emerged a different opponent, a hovering sphere similar to the one she had faced earlier, a humanoid robot with limbs that shifted and reconfigured continuously, a swarm of small drone-like objects that moved in perfect coordination, and a massive quadrupedal machine that resembled an earth tiger in its movements. "Well," Maya muttered to herself, "they're not holding back." In the observation deck, Admiral Zix Val watched with intense focus. Interesting. Her vital signs show elevated stress hormones, but no panic response. "Humans evolved as persistence predators," noted Catral. "Their endocrine system is optimized for sustained stress, rather than acute fight-or-flight responses. A primitive adaptation," dismissed Counselor Ishera. "It will not save her from this." Below, Maya was already in motion. Rather than engaging any of the opponents directly, She sprinted toward one of the raised platforms, using its height advantage to survey the field. The Tiger machine followed, its mechanical muscles propelling it forward with frightening speed. Maya waited until the last possible moment before leaping aside, causing the machine to land on the platform she had vacated. As it turned to pursue, she struck its left foreleg joint with her staff, applying leverage rather than force. The joint locked momentarily, causing the machine to stumble. Targeted attack on the Ravager's mobility system, observed an Ardenian technician. The human is prioritizing disability over destruction. The swarm of drones converged on Maya's position, forcing her to abandon her attack on the Tiger machine. She rolled beneath them, coming up near one of the electrical hazard zones. The humanoid robot approached, its arms transforming into blade-like appendages. Stage 2 environmental shift, announced the system. The arena floor began to reconfigure. Sections rose or fell randomly, creating an unstable battlefield that required constant adjustment. The temperature dropped sharply, frost forming on metal surfaces. For many species, the cold would have been debilitating. But for the human, adapted to Earth's variable climate, it was merely uncomfortable. Maya used the changing terrain to her advantage, maneuvering between obstacles to limit the number of opponents that could engage her simultaneously. When the hovering sphere approached, she deliberately backed toward an electrical hazard, then ducked as the sphere fired a pulse weapon. The energy discharge struck the hazard zone, creating a feedback surge that temporarily disrupted the sphere's systems. "She's using our environmental traps against the combat units," said Cattrall, unable to hide a note of admiration. "This goes beyond reactive tactics. She's implementing strategic counters." The humanoid robot closed in, its movements too fast and unpredictable for Maya to track completely. A glancing blow caught her shoulder, tearing through her combat suit and drawing blood. Maya hissed in pain but used the robot's momentary proximity to jam her staff into a joint where its leg connected to its torso. The leverage was perfect. The joint separated with a metallic screech, sending the robot toppling to the ground. Maya immediately seized one of its detached blade arms and used it to deflect an attack from the recovered Tiger machine. "Stage 3 contamination protocol," announced the system. A fine mist began to fill the arena, a mild neurotoxin designed to slow reactions and cloud judgment. Maya immediately held her breath and ripped a section of fabric from her sleeve, creating an improvised filter that she pressed over her nose and mouth. "Atmospheric countermeasures," noted a Makuri observer with surprise. The human recognized the chemical attack instantly. "Of course she did," said a voice from the back of the observation deck. "Their planet is overflowing with toxic substances. They likely encounter worse in their own industrial centers." The Tiger machine charged again, coordinating with the drone swarm to limit Maya's escape options. She waited until the last second, then threw the robot's severed blade directly into the Tiger's visual sensor array. The blade struck true, embedding itself deeply and causing the machine to veer off course, colliding with a section of raised floor. The impact damaged the Tiger machine's power core. It convulsed, internal systems failing catastrophically before shutting down completely. In the stands, murmurs of astonishment spread among the observers. No applicant had ever disabled 2 breaking point opponents, let alone within the first 10 minutes of the trial. "Implement final stage," ordered Admiral Zix Val, his mandibles clicking rapidly. "Fold spectrum assessment." The arena darkened suddenly. The remaining combat units withdrew to the perimeter as the central floor section spiraled open. From the depths rose a single opponent, a combat platform unlike anything Maya had seen before. It resembled a sentinel from ancient mythology, a towering humanoid form composed of shifting metal plates, its face a blank reflective surface that mirrored Maya's own expression back at her. "The Nemesis unit," breathed Cattrall. "We're using a combat system designed for void horde suppression on a Category 3 applicant. The human has demonstrated exceptional capability," replied the Admiral coldly. "We must understand its limits." The Nemesis unit stood motionless, studying Maya. Then it spoke, its voice emanating not from any visible mouth, but from the air around it. Human combatant identified. Analyzing physiological structure, movement patterns, and combat techniques, Maya realized with a chill that the machine was adapting to her specifically, learning her strengths and weaknesses in real time. This wasn't just a test of her abilities. It was data collection for potential future conflicts. "Analysis complete," announced the Nemesis. "Calibrating response parameters." It moved with startling grace for something so massive. One moment it stood 10 meters away. The next, it was upon her, a metal fist swinging with precisely calculated force. Maya barely managed to dodge, feeling the displacement of air as the fist passed centimeters from her head. The blow would have killed her instantly. This was no longer an evaluation. It was an execution. Maya backed away, mind racing. The Nemesis matched her movements perfectly, anticipating each feint and defensive maneuver. It was learning from her, becoming more effective with each passing second. In the observation deck, the alien representatives watched in silence. Most expected the human to signal surrender, the rational choice when faced with an overwhelming opponent. A few anticipated unconsciousness or worse. None were prepared for what happened next. Maya stopped retreating. She dropped her staff and stood perfectly still, staring at the Nemesis unit's reflective face. Then, to the astonishment of the observers, she closed her eyes. "What is she doing?" demanded Counselor Ishera. The Nemesis unit hesitated, its programming confronted with unexpected behavior. It advanced cautiously, sensors analyzing the human's passive stance. Maya remained motionless until the unit was within arm's reach. Then, with explosive speed, she dropped to the ground and rolled forward, passing between the Nemesis's legs and coming up behind it. Before the unit could recalibrate, she leaped onto its back, clinging to the shifting plates of its exterior. "Impossible," exclaimed a McCurry observer. "The reaction time required for that maneuver exceeds known human capability." Maya scrambled upward, reaching the Nemesis' head before it could dislodge her. Her fingers found seams between the metal plates, prying at them with desperate strength. The unit rotated rapidly, trying to throw her off, but she clung tenaciously, working her way toward a particular section she had identified. A small indentation where the plates converged at the back of the head. With one hand maintaining her grip, Maya drove the heel of her other palm into this spot with all her remaining strength. Once, twice, 3 times, and on the 4th strike, the section gave way, exposing a cluster of delicate components. Without hesitation, she plunged her hand into the opening and ripped out a handful of circuitry. The Nemesis unit froze mid-motion, its systems shorting out in a cascade of electrical discharges. Maya leaped clear as it toppled backward, crashing to the arena floor with a sound like thunder. Silence descended on the observation deck. No one spoke. No one moved. All eyes were fixed on the human standing amid the wreckage of what should have been an undefeatable opponent. Maya looked up at the observers, blood trickling from multiple wounds, her combat suit torn and scorched, but her eyes clear and determined. "Is that all?" she called out, her voice steady despite her obvious exhaustion. "Or does the initiative have more tests for Earth's capabilities?" Admiral Zixval rose slowly from his seat. "Trial concluded," he announced, his voice betraying no emotion. "The applicant has exceeded all evaluation parameters." As Maya was escorted from the arena, whispers erupted among the alien representatives. The implications were clear and deeply disturbing to many. Humans were not merely adaptable. They were dangerous. A species from a backwater Deathworld had defeated the initiative's most advanced combat systems through nothing more than observation, adaptation, and sheer determination. In a private chamber adjacent to the council hall, Admiral Zixval conferred with the highest-ranking representatives. "The human victory presents a strategic dilemma," began Counselor Ishera. "If we accept Earth into the initiative, we introduce an unpredictable variable into our defensive structure. And if we reject them, countered Catral, we risk creating a potential adversary with capabilities we clearly underestimated. There is a third option, suggested a Makari representative. Classification as a protected species, technological advancement restricted, monitored quarantine, limited off-world presence. Admiral Zix Val considered each proposal carefully. Then, to the surprise of his colleagues, he activated the communication channel to the human delegation's quarters. "Human Chen," he said when Maya appeared on the screen. "The Council has reached a decision regarding Earth's application." Maya, freshly treated for her injuries, but still bearing visible bruises, met his gaze evenly. "I'm listening, Admiral. Your performance in the trials was unprecedented. It has forced us to reconsider certain assumptions about your species." The Admiral's mandibles twitched in what might have been discomfort. "The Council proposes a modified membership for Earth, probationary status with accelerated development assistance in exchange for human tactical advisors to assist with Void Horde defense strategies." Maya's expression revealed nothing. "And the alternative? Classification as a potential security concern, with appropriate restrictions." "I see." Maya nodded slowly. "Then I accept your proposal, Admiral, with one condition. Earth receives full voting rights in all defensive matters from the beginning of our membership. Our perspective has value, as the trials demonstrated." Admiral Zix Val hesitated, then inclined his head slightly. "Acceptable. The details will be formalized in the treaty." After the communication ended, Kibtral approached the Admiral. "You gave in to their demands rather easily." "I made a strategic decision," replied Zixval. "The human demonstrated what her species is capable of when they feel threatened. I prefer to have such capabilities aligned with our interests rather than opposed to them. And if they prove too difficult to control," the Admiral's compound eyes gleamed in the dim light, "then we will have learned valuable information about defeating them, should that necessity arise." 6 months later, Maya stood on the observation deck of the Terran Embassy on Nexus Prime, watching as the first group of human tactical advisors arrived. Below her, representatives from a dozen lesser species gathered to greet the newcomers, civilizations that had found new respect in the initiative following Earth's performance in the trials. "Quite a change from your arrival," remarked Xel Tai, who had become a frequent visitor to the embassy. "The Council expected so little from humans." "A common mistake," Maya replied with a small smile. "Throughout our history, underestimating humans has rarely ended well for those who did it. A lesson the galaxy is learning quickly." The Makari's manipulator appendages formed a gesture of respect. "The Void Horde approaches our outer systems. Soon we will see if human adaptability proves as effective against them as it was in the arena." Maya's expression grew serious. "We didn't come all this way just to participate, Xel Tai. Earth has fought for its survival since our earliest days. The Void Horde is just another challenge to overcome." As the new human representatives entered the embassy, Maya saw the same determination in their eyes that she had carried into the Breaking Point trial, the unyielding resilience of a species forged on a world that had tried to kill them at every turn. The galaxy had no idea what it had just welcomed into its ranks, but it would soon find out. The end.